What is up, Coaster fans, and welcome to the third ever edition of the Coaster Rundown. My name is Cole, aka Park Bros. As always, I'm joined with my good buddy Jack. Jack, how are we doing this week?
I'm doing great, Cole. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, you too, buddy, and we got a ton of really good coaster news this week, so let's dive right into it. So, Jack, this weekend started off with some pretty shocking news on Friday afternoon when Cedar Point released an announcement saying that the park's Intamin Impulse coaster, Wicked Twister, is closing for good on September 6th to make room for future projects. This was kind of completely out of the blue. Wicked Twister has operated at Cedar Point since 2002, and up until earlier this year, it was the only twist and twist model of the Intamin Impulse coaster in the entire world. Jack, I've got two questions for you. First, give me your thoughts on Cedar Point closing one of its 18 coasters. And second, give me your very early prediction for what could replace it in 2022, probably 2023, but give me your thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, I think that was a big surprise to everybody. I mean, obviously this year going into Cedar Point's 150th anniversary, I think everybody thought that maybe a new ride announcement would come before a closure announcement. But hey, I mean, Cedar Point's got to do what they got to do. Obviously, Wicked Twister, not necessarily one of the more popular rides there, low capacity. It kind of makes sense for the park. You know, they've already got a couple of other launch coasters, and you know, don't get me wrong, I do really love Wicked Twister, and as you said, it's the only twist and twist one with two twisted spikes. So obviously, it's, you know, I'm gonna miss it. I had a great ride on it this year. I like it when parks do this, when they, you know, announce the ride's closure so you can get your last rides on it before it does actually close. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's going to be exciting to see what else comes to the park. Hopefully, you know, as far as my way too early predictions go. Obviously, the park needs another wooden coaster. I think they'd have to remove something else near it to get that land space done for it. I think it'd be pretty cool to see in that plot of land if they could clear up a little bit more land. Something like a GCI or a gravity group would be really cool. Maybe even something like what Dorney was supposed to get in 2022, a gravity group shuttle. Who knows? It'd be pretty sick to have that right along the beach there. And then obviously, you know, one ride model that comes to mind every time you talk about compact coasters is a Raptor. So maybe Cedar Point will do that. I still think somewhere in the near future, or, you know, next 5-10 years, whatever, they'll get the first or one of the first T-Rexes if they ever actually, if RMC ever actually builds one of those. But yeah, Wicked Twister, gone for good.
Yeah, and where my mind immediately goes is that's not a huge area of land, although it is prime real estate. I mean, like you said, it's a compact coaster. It makes me think maybe is the next door neighbor Max Air maybe due for a relocation. But anyways, Wicked Twister, it'll be interesting to see whether this is a relocation to a park like California's Great America, maybe, you know, Michigan's Adventure, one of those types of mid-tier parks, or is this just a complete, you know, scrap job and they'll just use the extra parts? I don't know if that'll be the case because Intamin still is producing this model. They're, like I said, they built one in China earlier this year, so I'm not sure if it's going to be just for scrap parts, but regardless, that's a really prime area of land, like you said, right on the beach. So Cedar Point is celebrating their 150th anniversary, you know, last year, this year. It seems like it's probably going to extend into next year as well. So
yeah,
you know, that Gerstlauer, that record breaker that everyone was kind of pinpointing to go to Cedar Point, obviously we now know that's not the case, and that'll be our next topic we talk about. But I don't know if they have something up their sleeve for 2022. I think this might be a delayed 2023 project, but I mean, your mind has to go right to coaster. Like you said, a GCI would be a great addition. Some kind of wooden coaster there would be, you know, a really nice fit in that lineup that's kind of lacking right now. Maybe something like a huge Mack Power Splash right there would kind of fit in. They are kind of running low on water rides at that park. This will be definitely something that the enthusiast community will keep an eye on. Anytime Cedar Point's in the news, it's always the top story, so I'm sure this is not going to be the last we talk about this, but yeah, Wicked Twister is out at Cedar Point.
All right, so another big news story was out of a pretty small park in Colorado called Glenwood Caverns. On Thursday, the park announced that it will be working with Gerstlauer to build a Eurofighter on the side of a mountain called Defiance. Now, Defiance will stand 75 feet tall, drop riders down a 110-foot tall drop that is also 102 degrees beyond vertical, and it will also have 2 inversions. So I think this announcement came as a pretty big shock to everyone because Gerstlauer announced a while back that they would be bringing a record-breaking attraction to the United States So naturally, everyone thought a big park like Cedar Point was going to be getting something like that. But no, it's a small park like Glenwood Caverns. So this was kind of out of nowhere. Plus, the whole record-breaking part of it, it's a little bit of a stretch. I think that's also another reason why the enthusiasts are nitpicking / are a little bit disappointed. But Cole, what are you thinking about this new for 2022 Eurofighter Defiance?
Yeah, so when scenic coasters come to mind, I really think of two coasters traditionally, and they oddly have the same name. I think of Wildfire, which is the RMC at Kolmarden in Sweden, and then Wildfire, the B&M Looper at Silver Dollar City. Both of those coasters have just unbelievable settings, and I think this new Glenwood Caverns project has, the chance to probably beat those in terms of scenery. Right there in the Rocky Mountains, this park has all types of crazy attractions that hang you out over the cliffs, over the mountain. And now they're getting kind of a headlining coaster in a Gerstlauer Eurofighter. And even though, in terms of Eurofighters or Infinity coasters that Gerstlauer has come out with in the last couple of years, this one is maybe a little bit on the shorter side. It seems to only have 3 or 4 real elements. I mean, you definitely are not going to be able to beat the scenery that comes along with it, especially if it kind of looks like they're putting it down the side of the cliff as well on that initial drop. So it's cool to see a park like Glenwood Caverns get this sort of, kind of eye-popping attraction, and it seems a little on brand for them. So I definitely think it gives enthusiasts more of a reason having this headlining coaster to visit the park than maybe they did before. So I think all around it's a win for Glenwood Caverns. It looks like a really good addition.
Yeah, overall, as far as Colorado goes, the only parks that I had ever really, had on my radar were Elitch Gardens, and then Glenwood Caverns I kind of heard about, but I didn't even realize they had any roller coasters. And now it looks like there's going to be another Cliffhanger in 2022. And that park actually also has a coaster called Cliffhanger, but this one will truly be hanging off of the cliff. So good for Glenwood Caverns.
Yeah. So on to our third topic of today. SeaWorld on Thursday had their Q2 financial results call. So Andrew Hyde of themeparkindustry.com and the In the Loop podcast, who is an awesome follow on Twitter, by the way, go check him out. He tweeted that SeaWorld recorded record revenue, income, and EBITDA for quarter 2, and that their net income for the quarter was up 142.7% compared to 2019. Now, Jack, as this relates to the continued delay of the chain's new roller coasters like Iron Gwazi and Icebreaker that were announced in 2019 and were supposed to open in 2020, it seems pretty clear that the chain is waiting for their park's record-breaking attendance and revenue numbers from this quarter to fall off a little bit before opening these new coasters. Jack, we're 4 months away from 2022, and these coasters that were announced in 2019 are still just sitting there. Do you think it's fair to the pass holders, the SeaWorld pass holders, that they keep delaying these openings of these rides?
Well, the really simple answer, Cole, is no. It is not fair at all. I mean, this has been the story that, everybody's been talking about, not necessarily the SeaWorld financials, but the fact that all these rides are just sitting there closed all year long. We all thought that they were going to open up this year, and we were all like, the parks are back, the people are back, why not open up all these rides? And, as everybody's been saying, they're lawn ornaments right now. Iron Gwazi, Pantheon, Emperor, Icebreaker, all of them. At almost every single SeaWorld and Busch Gardens park. The only one that ever opened was Texas Stingray because it opened right before COVID. And yeah, I mean, it completely shifted all of my park plans for this year. I mean, obviously I was planning on getting on Iron Gwazi and Pantheon. And honestly, I bought a SeaWorld Platinum Pass with anticipation of getting on those rides. So it is definitely very disappointing. But yeah, it is pretty crazy to me that SeaWorld, is so financially good right now that they can just have the liberty to wait until next year, which is insane. And, when you put it into perspective, Cole, that, they announced these rides in 2019 and now they're finally not going to open them until 2022, hopefully. It is a pretty huge bummer for us coaster enthusiasts. So
I think people like you and I that bought these SeaWorld passes with the expectation that all these roller coasters were going to open up, either this year or even last year, are a little, perplexed by the whole situation. But yeah, I mean, they just need to do a better job of communicating to, their patrons obviously they don't need to cater to the enthusiast community, but I'm sure there's many pass holders in our shoes that, bought these passes hoping that these rides would open. So from a communication standpoint, I think they just need to be more clear with what their plans are and what the timeline for these coasters are. And honestly, just say that the rides are going to open in 2022 if that's the case, because I think people would, obviously not be happy, but there'd be more of a transparency instead of, selling passes. But SeaWorld's in the business to make money, not to, completely please us coaster enthusiasts. So I'm kind of in the boat now where I think it's probably going to be spring 2022 before they even consider opening any of these rides. It's definitely kind of a frustrating story for us coaster enthusiasts, but like I said, they're in it to make money. So.
Yeah, as you said, obviously SeaWorld has not had the best communication so far to the public or to us enthusiasts, but a park that has had a whole lot of communication with us about their new for 2022 edition has been Fun Spot America, specifically Fun Spot America Atlanta, as they have teased us yet again with more images of their new for 2022 RMC hybrid coaster. As we predicted, this ride will feature a zero-G stall right under the lift hill, as well as a bounty of airtime. I'm hoping to see an official announcement from the park soon regarding the ride's full layout, as well as the name of the ride, of course. But Cole, what's going on through your mind looking at these images?
Yeah, I think it looks really solid. I mean, the two images we got this week were of a couple good-looking airtime hills. I think even like a double down or double up on one of the pictures, and then yeah, like you mentioned, that stall that we saw kind of in the layout that was uncovered a couple weeks ago. As we mentioned before, it kind of gives off Goliath at Great America vibes. But yeah, it just continues to look really solid. It'll be interesting to see what the timeline for construction and the opening of this is. I mean, at this point, I could probably see, in early 2022, maybe early spring for that. So another story that we'll probably be keeping an eye on as they continue to, give us these teasers and such. So finally, we have this really cool story out of Qatar. The Doha Quest Indoor Theme Park, which had a park budget of $300 million, just opened Epic Coaster, which has become the world's tallest indoor roller coaster at 197 feet tall. Epic Coaster is a Premier Rides LSM launch coaster that features a twisted vertical rollback, which is a similar element to what you see on the Intamin Impulse coasters. And the ride also features two inversions. YouTube user National Coasters made a great video covering this ride, where he also came up with this rendering of what the ride's kind of hidden indoor portion looks like. So if you want to check that out, we'll leave the link down in the description of this video. But Jack, this might be the most creative indoor roller coaster that I've ever seen. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, first, like you said, shout out to National Coasters. That was a great video that he made, regarding Epic Coaster and this crazy new indoor roller coaster. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a lot like what we're seeing more often now with new gen launch coasters. Obviously, the old generation was hydraulic launch, one big launch, and you're off. Now this seems like the new norm with Premier and Mock Rides, all these different manufacturers, Intamin as well, with multi-launch coasters, and then also with switch tracks as well, so that you can just do so much more with it. And yeah, Epic Coaster looks insane. I mean, I may not ever ride it because I don't really see myself going to Qatar anytime soon. But yeah, it does look pretty crazy. I mean, that almost 200-foot tall spike going all the way up. I'd honestly be curious to see what this building looks like from the outside, because everything I've seen so far has been from the inside. But to contain a almost 200-foot tall spike inside one building, it's got to be a pretty crazy looking building. But yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like a really cool park. $300 million is a crazy price tag for just one park. Well, especially a park that only has 4 roller coasters. But for this to be the headlining attraction, that's definitely a step up for them. And yeah, it definitely seems like a really cool roller coaster.
Yeah, and poor American Dream, who had the title of the tallest indoor roller coaster for all but maybe a year of them actually operating. So
I forgot about that.
I'm sure they're not too happy about that. But
nope, not at all.
That's it for this week's episode of the Coaster Rundown. Thank you as always for tuning in. Come back next week. We'll have more theme park news for you guys and more stories to cover. If you haven't yet, go check me out on TikTok at Park Pros. I'm posting daily, sometimes twice a day on there. All types of roller coaster content, videos covering all types of stuff. So go follow me on TikTok at Park Pros.
And I've got a Cedar Point ranking video coming up on my YouTube channel this week, so please look out for that and check it out.
Thank you guys for watching the Coaster Rundown, and we'll see you next week.